So gratuity being extra. First of all, let's get a definition of what this term gratuity means. It is a sum of money given to someone as a reward for their services. The definition of the word gratuitous is given or done free of charge. So let me tell you where this is coming from, why we're even talking about this subject, because there is something that specifically occurred that led to me going into this. This is something that I have talked about or I've written about in my articles, but I hadn't done an episode of my show on it specifically yet. And that's one of the reasons why we're addressing it now. So what had happened was I placed an order on this app called GoPuff. You may be familiar with it if you live in a big city. It's mostly GoPuff is mostly situated in big city metropolitan areas. And GoPuff is basically an app that allows you to go to the convenience store from your home. So anything you can buy from the local Walgreens or CVS, like paper towels, a bag of potato chips, soda, candy, a Klondike ice cream bar, that kind of stuff. Maybe even alcohol, I think they have. You can order it on this app, GoPuff, and then someone will come and deliver all that stuff to your home. I use GoPuff specifically to order sweets. I like to eat candy. It's kind of, I guess you could say, my vice. And I ordered some candy on the GoPuff app. And when the driver was close to being near my home, I guess they were close to being near my home. It was about 20, 30 minutes after I placed the order. I got a couple of phone calls from a number that I didn't recognize, so I didn't answer the phone. I hardly ever answer the phone if it's a number that I don't know. And I didn't answer it, and I got a couple calls from the same number back to back. Then finally, I got a text message from the same number, and the person in the text message said, "Hey, this is your GoPuff driver. You need to answer the phone or I will have to cancel your order." That's what the person said. And I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm figuring maybe they're lost or something like this. I don't know what the issue is because I live in a high-rise building, which is pretty easy to find, and there's people at the front desk. So I don't know why this person is calling me because I've ordered from GoPuff many times and never had anybody say anything like that. So I called a number back. At first they didn't answer, then they called right back. And they said, "Hello." And then they said, I didn't say anything. I said, "Hello." And they said, "Hello." There was a pause, and then the person said, it was a woman. I could tell it was a black woman. And she said, "I left your order at the front desk." Now, this is an issue because the reason why there's a person at the front desk in a building like this is so that they can allow delivery drivers to go into the elevators and go to the floor where they need to make their delivery. And the delivery usually gets left at the front door of the unit of the person who placed the order. So why she left my order at the front desk doesn't make any sense. So when she first said that, the first thing I'm thinking is, hey, maybe she had trouble getting into the building. Maybe that's why she was calling and texting me. And then maybe nobody was at the front desk. Maybe the front desk person was at the bathroom, or who knows, something else is happening. No one's at the front desk. So she couldn't get upstairs, so she just left the order at the front desk. I'm assuming maybe that happened. This all flashes through my mind in a split second. My response to her is, well, was there no one at the front desk? Because again, that's the only way it would make sense for her if we have to order the order there. So I just asked her that question. And she said, "I don't know. I don't know." Said, "I don't know" twice. "I don't know. I don't know." And then she went on to say what she really wanted to say, which had nothing to do with her ability to bring my delivery to the front door. Here's what she ended up saying. She said, "I just want to let you know that when you order, you should leave more than a $1 tip because us drivers work really hard to deliver you your stuff." And before I had a chance to say anything, she hung up the phone. And I first of all, I was just processing in my mind what this person just said. Now, she was saying I should leave more than $1 tip. Well, one thing she got right is that I did leave a $1 tip. This order was literally $15, 1-5. I left her a $1 tip. GoPuff itself charges a $4 delivery fee. They charge all other kinds of fees and taxes on top of their orders, and that's my justification for not leaving big tips when I order from a place like GoPuff. Now, any of you who works as a freelancer or contractor as a delivery driver, you may hear that and think to yourself, a counterpoint, well, Dre, that those delivery fees and taxes and fees and stuff don't go to us, the drivers. They go to the company that is charging the fees, which is probably the case. My response to that is that ain't my business. And I'm going to get into why that's not my business as we get further into today's episode. What my business is how much money is coming out of my account for the order that I'm placing. I placed an order that the stuff was literally like $15. The fees, taxes, etc., ended up being another $5 to $7, and then they want me to give a gratuity on top of that. That's between you and the company that you're making deliveries for. Any of you who works as a delivery driver, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, etc. And we're going to get into that as we get into our points here today. Now, Also here in South Florida, because remember the topic here today is that gratuity is extra. Restaurants in Miami, where I live, this is a routine, normal thing now that these companies will always add in an 18 to 20% gratuity automatically damn near to every bill. Now, you do have the right to take it off. You can tell them to take it off, but they make it a very cumbersome process and basically ostracize you if you try to get them to take a gratuity off a bill. So I usually don't. I don't have a problem leaving an 18 to 20% tip. It's almost at every restaurant you go to in Miami, it's automatically added to the bill almost all the time, even if now, there used to be a thing that if you had a party of 6 or more, they would automatically add the gratuity to the bill and it would be written in the fine print on the menu. Nowadays, you could go to a restaurant by yourself and they will automatically add the gratuity in. And now they have the little handheld thing that takes the money. They automatically have the tip on there and you got to choose no tip and it's right there in front of them while you're doing it. So again, they've crafted this and they've engineered it socially so that it's would feel awkward for many people to not give a tip, even when even if you're doing something like picking up food. Like I go to a restaurant, get a pickup order, and they have a tip on the bill. I'm like, what the hell are you offering? Why are you asking for a tip? You didn't even do anything but prepare the food and just hand. You didn't do anything. The cook made the food. You just handed me the bag. And this is what people are doing these days when it comes to the gratuities. And I'm saying all of this to say I'm not a fan of any of this stuff. That's why the title of this episode is the title of this episode. And today I'm going to explain why I'm not a fan of this so that I'm on the record. And I know that, listen, many of you who listen to this, maybe you work in these spaces. And I know that you have tips playing a big role in how much money you end up bringing home at the end of the week, month, or year. I got something for you in this episode as well. So listen closely. Point number one, today's topic, once again, is gratuity is extra. Number one, it is not the responsibility of the customer to supplement the wages of a tip reliant individual. It is not my responsibility as a customer to supplement your wages if your income is largely based on tips. The responsibility is your responsibility to make sure your income is the amount that you want it to be based on the fact that you make most of your money from tips. And I'll explain what that means as we go further here. So if a customer chooses to give you a tip, be grateful for the tip. And if they don't give you a tip, they haven't done anything wrong and don't owe you anything, especially when you're doing a job in which you cannot differentiate yourself from your peers, such as driving. If you're delivering Uber Eats or Grubhub, there's not really anything you can do to make yourself different than anybody else who delivers food. Maybe you could bring the food a little bit sooner, but I mean, I don't think that really makes a big difference to people. If I order food for delivery, I'm expecting it to take 30 to 60 minutes, depending on what the app is saying to me. And sometimes you may run into traffic. Maybe there's a road blocked off. Maybe it's raining outside, whatever. I'm not saying, and also, by the way, most of the time when we place these orders, they're asking you for the tip before you have even gotten the thing that you paid for. So I don't even know how fast you're going to take based on the tip. Now, some of you drivers may say, because I know I have some friends who work in spaces in which they run businesses in which they contract these delivery drivers. They have told me that the delivery driver will basically prioritize which order they deliver first based on who gave the most tip. Or they will sometimes decline an order because there isn't there's a certain amount of tip in the order. The issue with this is that it may throw you off logistically when it comes to your deliveries. What if you got two people who are real close to each other, but one of them has a big tip, one of them has a small tip? What are you going to do? Drive to the other side of town and come back for that other one? That's you're hurting yourself more than you're hurting the other person. So what I dislike most about this whole process, again, on top of the fact that this woman, this Grubhub delivery driver, not Grubhub, GoPuff delivery driver. Oh, by the way, let me tell you what happened with the driver. After she hung the phone up on me, I immediately reached out to GoPuff's customer service and let them know about the issue and let them know it was completely unacceptable. They ended up basically giving me a bonus money to use on their app as a way of appeasing me for the unpleasantry of the situation. And I really want to know, but I was really pressing them on what you want to do to that delivery driver, because I know she's not an employee of GoPuff. She's just a contractor. But they have the freedom and flexibility to just decide we're not going to do business with this person because of whatever it is that they did. Who knows if they did anything or not. But they appeased me well enough that I let it go. And they also helped me get content out of the situation. So what I am going on to say here, what I most dislike about this process, there are several things. One is that companies are now passing their staff desire for more money onto the customer. They're passing the responsibility from them to the customer. Business owners, I'm not a fan of this. If you are a business owner and you have staff who work for you, or freelancers who work for you, contractors who work for you, and they get tips, and you are now passing that responsibility for them wanting more money onto the customer by auto adding tips, or auto adding a tip amount that is ridiculously not, is way above the 20% level. GoPuff, I'm looking at you. GoPuff's normal tip amount, let's say I place an order, let's say I got $20 worth of stuff in my shopping bag and I'm about to order. GoPuff's tip amount will be like 25 to 35% automatically. That's the default they set it at, and then you have to go in there and change it. Many apps are doing this. I'm not a fan of this at all. So first of all, business owners, stop putting the onus to pay your people more on the customer, because there are some customers who will go along with this. So I understand why you're doing it, but at the same time, I don't agree with it on principle alone. Now, if your staff wants more money, pay them more money. Don't put it on the customer, because now what you're doing is creating an adversarial relationship between the customer and the person who is delivering them the product or the service that they're paying for. And that leads to all types of other problems for your customers and for these people who are working for you, whether they are doing it as contractors or not. And by the way, if a contractor does a bad job in being the go-between between you, the company, and the customer who is paying you, the customer is going to have a negative view of you, even though it's not your company who made the mistake. It's the freelance contractor who you have contracted that work out to. They're the one who messed up, but my memory is going to be you messed up. So I remember I ordered some food from this place called Sweet Green for delivery, and I rarely order delivery. Honestly, I'm giving you these stories because they are few and far between. I don't really order delivery, especially meals, because they take too long, and I like my food to be as fresh as possible. So if I'm ordering food from another place, I'll go get it myself. Anyway, I ordered delivery once, and it was the last time I ever ordered delivery from these folks. Literally the last time. And what they do is they are contracted with DoorDash. So anytime I order from Sweet Green, a DoorDash driver goes and gets my food and brings it to me. And the person was taking way too long, way longer than the app had quoted. And I ended up having a negative view of Sweet Green's delivery service. I still like their food, but the delivery service I have a negative view of, even though Sweet Green does not have a delivery service. Or they just contracted to someone else, but I ordered from Sweet Green. And then I got a late delivery, so I connected that mentally to Sweet Green. So this is what's happening to a lot of you business owners, because again, these people you're contracting are representing you whether you want them to or not. The customer is thinking of you when they place that order. They don't think about the delivery company. They're thinking about the company that they ordered from, which is you. And if that driver is rude or does something wrong, that reflects back on you. So you better be careful as to how the drivers you are giving your stuff to deliver to your customers are interfacing with those customers, because again, it all comes back to you. So companies, anyway, if you want to, well, one thing the companies always do is when they want to pass off the cost of anything, they pass it off through raising prices. And they also pass it off through, now they're doing it through the gratuity scam. And they're putting the onus on the customer to either remove the gratuity or not choose it when making a payment. I also don't like the fact that workers are looking at everything you're doing when you're choosing a tip or choosing not to give one. Because again, it creates this social pressure on you to give a tip, or otherwise get a nasty look from the person working there, which again is not illegal. But I don't like the fact that businesses are even putting everyone in this situation in the first place. Now, again, I don't have a problem personally with choosing no tip right there in the face of a worker. I do it all the time if I feel like there's no tip necessary. For example, if I walk up to a place, order some food, you give it to me, and then I take the food with me and walk away, what am I giving you a tip for? You didn't do anything, but you didn't provide a service to me. I mean, you made the food, but I paid for the food. You didn't provide a service. You didn't serve me the food. You did not, you at the register, you didn't even prepare the food. And the person who's preparing the food, they get paid as a cook, right? They're not working on tips. They get paid as a cook. So again, some of you may think, well, maybe you should tip everybody. Hey, you go ahead and tip everybody if you want to. I don't agree with this process. And I really don't like the social pressure that gets engineered into this. Another part I don't like is, again, as I shared in my story with the GoPuff delivery driver, is that there are drivers and workers out there now who are bold and audacious enough to basically go after a customer because they didn't give a tip or didn't give enough of a tip. Now, I'm the type of person who I don't give a damn if you're unhappy about it or not. I will have a conversation with someone who has a problem with a tip I gave or a tip that I didn't give. There are many people who are deathly afraid of facing such a situation, and they'll tip out of obligation just to avoid the situation. Again, I'm not that type of person, but this is customer extortion. That's what that is. This is extortion. And maybe some of you have seen the videos on social media where some delivery driver is mad that there wasn't a big tip, so they go and do something uh, unbecoming. When they deliver the pizza or the food to a customer, they'll go ring the bell and cuss out the customer, or yell at the customer, or argue with the customer, or write some note. I think somebody wrote something. I don't know if it was real or not. You never know on social media, but someone wrote a note. A delivery driver wrote a note on some food delivery and said, "Hey, I didn't do anything to your food this time, but next time leave a better tip." And I don't know if that one was real, but do I believe that kind of stuff is real? Yes, I do. I do believe that is real. As I said earlier, many companies, when they need to pay their staff more, they simply raise their prices and then they pay their staff more. They use the increased revenue to, again, supplement incomes, revenue, or pay rather. Companies do this and will always do this. So a company like GoPuff, they probably should just give a higher percentage of the orders to their staff so their staff can start complaining about the tips. In other words, when a GoPuff delivery driver or DoorDash delivery driver accepts to take an order, same way an Uber driver takes and decides to take a ride, they get a percentage of whatever the ride amount is. And with GoPuff, DoorDash, etc., I'm sure there's a similar workout, whether it's a percentage of the order or you just get paid a flat rate for every order or whatever the situation is, maybe a combination of both. That's between the company that is selling the stuff and the drivers who are delivering the stuff. Don't put the customer in the middle of this mix. We're not all equal in this game because the customer already paid for the stuff. The tip is not the responsibility of the customer. They can give it if they want to, but it should not be something that a driver is feeling mad about because they're not getting a certain amount. And now they have this entitlement mindset around this concept. Why do they, and again, when you're doing a pickup order, for example, why do you have this? Again, why do people even have this on the checkout screen? I've already explained to you why, and I understand it. And I know people who run food businesses who do have the tip thing on the checkout screen because why not grab a couple extra bucks if you can get it because it works. So I can't be mad at it, but at the same time, I don't like it. Point number two, the topic here today is that gratuity is extra. Number two, if you can make money off of tips, or if you do make money off of tips, excuse me, go work at a job in which you can differentiate yourself, such as waiting tables, doing nails, somewhere that you can actually show how good you really are. And then the tip is what you get after the service has been delivered. Be a masseuse, be an esthetician. These are kind of jobs where you can do the job, then the person pays, and then based on the job that you did, they can decide to give you a tip. And usually the tips are a lot bigger when you do that than when you're doing something like driving Uber or doing Uber Eats. Actually, driving Uber is actually a better example. I would say, so I'll put driving Uber along with massage artists or massage therapists or being a waiter at a nice restaurant. I'll put driving Uber in the same category because usually you're asked after the ride is over to rate the driver and then give a tip if you want to give a tip. And there are ways that you can earn the tip because, but again, you have to deliver the service first. So all of you who works on tips, make sure you work in a job where you can deliver the service first before the person decides whether to give you a tip and how much. Because if they're giving you a tip blindly without knowing you or having experienced what you do, or there's nothing unique about what you're doing, i.e., you're dropping off candy that somebody ordered to their house, of course your tips are not going to be great because you're not doing a job in which you can differentiate yourself from anybody else. You're just there. You're just in the way. Not in the way, but you're just there. All right, you're a non-human participant in the purpose. All right, I think they call them NPCs. All right, you're just not really there. All right, so a company like GoPuff, Uber Eats, DoorDash, why do these companies tell the driver how much the tip is before they even complete the job? All right, that would solve the whole problem right there. And again, I was talking to a friend who works in food service and they contract delivery drivers. And what he told me was that the reason that the companies will show the driver the tip amount is because the drivers can decide whether or not they will take that order or whether or not they'll take an order based on how much the tip is. So if someone leaves a $10 tip, drivers will want to take that one, but someone leaves a $1 tip, a driver may say, well, no, I don't want to take that order, whatever it happens to be. So this is the reason, I guess, why they do it. But again, what this does is put the onus on the customer. Now the customer is basically, we are in an auction with the delivery drivers to how much we're going to tip to make sure we actually get our fucking food that we pay for. This is ridiculous. And again, it's putting everything on the customer. I'm already paying for the food. Now I got to get in the auction to decide how I'm going to get my stuff. I don't like this setup, but it looks like this is not going away. It doesn't appear that it is. So all this does, as I said, it creates a situation where the drivers get annoyed about the tip before they've even done the job. Now you're expecting a tip. You didn't do the job yet. the GoPuff delivery driver said you should give more than the $1 tip. And the bitch shouldn't have got any tip. The fact that she didn't even deliver the order like she was supposed to, and then called me and complained about the tip that I gave. The fact, bitch, I even gave you a tip, $1, you should be thanking me. Because based on what she did, the tip should have been 0. And there's one app, Amazon, that I know of in which you can put a tip in there temporarily at the beginning of the order, and then you can edit the tip after the orders. You can go back and edit the tip from $5 to $0 if you don't like what they did, or you can change it from $0 to $10 if you like the job that the delivery driver did. Every company needs to implement that, where I can edit the tip based on how the situation actually goes, rather than tipping you before you even did anything. Why would I give you a tip before you do the work? Somebody explain to me that. Why am I giving you a tip before you do the work? You haven't done anything. So again, answering my own question, I went and looked up why companies do that, and I just told you that as these drivers are independent contractors and not employees, they get to pick and choose which orders that they're going to take. And again, the problem with this is that it puts everything on the customer, and it creates an antagonistic situation between the customer and the delivery driver, when the person who's really responsible, the entity really responsible for all of this, is the business. So then the customer gets their order deprioritized, or you run into a hostile delivery driver who may want to get really bold. And again, this is the reason why I don't really like ordering food for delivery, and I don't order from GoPuff that often either, because a hostile delivery driver is going to say the wrong thing to me or do the wrong thing, and we're going to have a problem. Now, luckily, that situation with the woman happened over the phone, and she was already gone by the time I got downstairs to the front desk to get my order. But the kind of stuff that I've seen online, I believe some of it is real. I think some of it might be staged, but some of it is real. The delivery driver came to my house talking crazy because they didn't like the tip that they got, and had the audacity to ring my bell and try to tell me about it. We're going to have a problem. There's going to be a situation. And I'm sure these have happened. Maybe they didn't get caught on camera, but this is not a situation that companies want to be creating with this relationship with their customers. And again, I'm going to think about the pizza shop, not about whoever that delivery driver is, because you're representing the pizza shop, because I ordered from the pizza shop. I didn't order from you. Hopefully you are getting what I'm saying here. So getting back to, and this, as I just said, this just creates a clusterfuck of a situation for everybody. It's one of the main reasons, not the main reason, but one of the main reasons why I don't like ordering food for delivery. First of all, it takes too long. And secondly, now this makes it even worse. So it lessens the chance I ever do it. So if you are a tip reliant worker, let me tell you what to do. Can I help you out? Here's what you do. You must work somewhere where you can differentiate yourself from your peers. You must get a better job where you differentiate yourself from everyone else. A delivery driver is not a differentiatable job. It is not a differentiatable job. I don't know if that's even a word, but I just made it up. The only difference between one driver and the next is how much time the app tells me to take my food to get to me, but I usually don't make that a reflection of the driver. I make that a reflection of the circumstance, the traffic, the weather, etc. I live in a high traffic area, so sometimes it might take an hour for a delivery to get to me just because there's a lot of stuff going on in the area. I don't think about the driver at all. I don't consider the driver at all. I think about all of that before I even place the order. Oh, it's going to be an hour to get this delivery. You know what? Maybe I won't deliver. Maybe I'll order from somewhere else, and maybe I'll just go get it myself. But I'm not thinking about the driver. So again, the point being, you can't differentiate yourself, delivery driver, if this is the job you're working at. Stop working at this job. Get a better job. So I'm going to tell you what you should do instead. So again, traffic is traffic. 4 miles is 4 miles. Doesn't matter who's driving. If you go somewhere else, such as getting a job at a high-end restaurant, then you can separate yourself from your peers by the service that you give to every table that you wait on. If you're a hairstylist, esthetician, again, these are more examples. I'm going to talk about this more in the third point. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is gratuity is extra. Number 3, position yourself to where getting what you want is your standard and your baseline rather than a hoped for or expected handout. This sentence right here can apply to any aspect of your life. So let me say the sentence again in case you were sleepwalking when I said that. Position yourself to where getting what you want is your standard and your baseline rather than a hoped for or expected handout. See, when you're delivering GoPuff orders, you are hoping that the customers, people like me, give you nice sized tips, whatever amount is nice sized to you. Instead, you should position yourself to where a nice sized tip is the standard and the normal thing, not something that you're hoping and wishing for and then getting mad when you don't get it. See, you're just setting yourself up. You have a incorrect process if that's what's happening. Like this woman who got mad at me because I left a $1 tip on GoPuff. Her problem is not me or the $1. The problem is that she's delivering orders for GoPuff. That's the problem. Now, if she had a good attitude, didn't sound like she did, but let's just say that she did, and she got a job at a high-end restaurant, then the standard would be her getting nice tips. Why? Because high-end restaurants usually means there's a big bill, and usually people who spend big money on food at high-end restaurants will leave nice tips. See, that's the place where you need to work because it's normal there. That's the standard to get a nice tip. It's not a random out of the blue thing like it is with GoPuff. It's random out of the blue to get a nice tip. It's not random to get a nice tip at a high-end restaurant. So you go to a restaurant at the Ritz-Carlton in your town, a nice tip is a normal and expected thing. I asked ChatGPT to give me some help with some industries that best offer this type of opportunity. It gave me a nice sized list. And one thing that everything on the list had in common, I'll tell you this, it was do your service-based work. Because usually if you're getting a tip, you're doing some type of service-based work. Do your work at a high-end place that attracts high-spending clientele. If you just follow that, you'll be in a place where you can make money off tips. So there are several places that fit this description. Be a valet at a really nice hotel. All right, you'll get nice tips working in a place like that. Be a personal shopper. Only people who have personal shoppers are people who have a good amount of money and not a lot of time. They use their money to buy time. They will give you nice tips. You got that? Be a bartender at a high-end bar or at a bar that is at the at the lobby level of a really nice hotel. You'll get nice tips working in a place like that. Be a casino dealer, but work the high-end table. So don't be working at the $5 roulette wheel. Go work the high rollers room poker table. All right, you're going to get some nice tips there because whoever wins is going to give you a tip. They're already happy because they win it. All right, most of the time they lose. All right, be a chauffeur. All right, people who are broke don't have chauffeurs. All right, only people with money have chauffeurs. Okay, be a waiter at a high-end restaurant. Again, high-end restaurants, big bills, big tips. If you go work somewhere where people spend more than average, you are positioning yourself to make more money. And again, any of you who's in any type of business where your aim is to make more money, follow what I just said. Position yourself in the places where people are spending money, and with people who have money to spend, you better position yourself to get some of it for yourself. If you're working in a place where people don't really have money, what are you expecting? If you're a social worker, you shouldn't be expecting to get rich. You're working with a bunch of people who are broke. All due respect to the social workers, but am I lying? All right, if I'm lying, somebody point out the lie. All right, if you are a personal shopper for people who live in Manhattan and are socialites who go out to party 4 nights a week, you'll get nice tips from them. Why? Because they got money. You're positioning yourself where the money is. Stay close to the money. I think I did a whole episode on that exact topic. Let me see if I did. I think I did. Let me make sure. Yes, I did. Episode number 2557. Stay close to the money. If you're not close to it already, get close to the money. Many of you are positioning yourselves in places where there is no money and then wondering why you're not getting any. Because it ain't none. Ain't no money to be gotten where you're at. Go to where the money's at. That's where the opportunity is. Okay, so if you're out there delivering pizzas for Uber Eats, you're positioning yourself to lose because people are placing orders for $25. How much money do you think you're going to make in a tip? 20% of $25 is $2.50. How many deliveries you got to do to make a significant amount of money that night? Your system is incorrect. There are restaurants out there, especially in big cities, Miami, Houston, Vegas, LA, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago. All right, the expectation, there are wait staffs out there where the expectation is that you earn at least $100 a year in tips. That's not a joke. This is a real thing. There are restaurants out there where if you're on the wait staff, they know how much you made in tips because you have to declare it every shift. And the expectation that you earn at least $100,000 a year just off tips, not counted, not the paycheck, just the tips. And if you are unable to do this, in other words, you're coming up short, you're not making, let's say, $10,000 a month, as a rough estimate. If you go a few months and you're not hitting that number, they'll fire you. And again, I'm not making this up. There are restaurants out there that if you are not earning at least $10,000 a month in tips, you will get fired from the job because clearly you are not good enough at the job to earn enough money to be part of their staff. Everyone on the staff should get at least 10 grand a month in tips. And if you're not, you ain't that good, you're fired. You can't work here. See, that's what I mean by staying close to the money. I'm telling you this to help you understand. If you want to be a gig worker, if you work at a restaurant, I guess technically you're an employee. But if you want to be any type of gig worker or anyone who's working off of tips, position yourself to where you're in the best position to make the most money. If you're going to be a dog groomer, all right, don't put your dog grooming shop in the middle of the hood around a bunch of Section 8 housing and people who don't really make a lot of money. You want to have a dog shop, or at least position yourself. Even if your dog shop is in the hood, you want to position yourself to where your clientele ain't from the hood. You want clientele who are coming from the high cost of living areas of town. They're bringing their dogs to you because those people have money. They will spend inordinate amounts to take care of their dogs, meaning they're giving money to you. That's what you want. So if you want to make more money, folks, simple magic formula: go to a place where more money is being spent. If you're delivering orders of people ordering toilet paper, paper towels, and candy bars, how much money do you think you could possibly make? It's a bad formula. We talk about inaccurate formulas. An inaccurate formula is when you set yourself up to lose no matter how well you do the job. That's an inaccurate formula. You're trying to work off tips, but you're delivering candy bars to people. How much money do you think you're going to make? It doesn't even make any sense, does it? Which makes perfect sense why this idiot woman from working GoPuff gets mad because you got a $1 tip. Bitch, you're doing a $1 job. Now go do a $10 job. You'll get $10 tips. Again, what do I have wrong? Somebody let me know. All that said, let's recap today's class, which is gratuity is extra. Definition of gratuity is a sum of money given to someone as a reward for their services. The definition of gratuitous is given or done free of charge. So again, I told you the story. This delivery driver was mad because I only gave a $1 tip. Let me help you all out with this. Number one, is not the responsibility of the customer to supplement the wages of a tip reliant service worker. If you want to, as a customer, you can do whatever you want, but it is not your responsibility to supplement money that goes to someone who is tip reliant and a service worker. And by the way, if you're a service worker, if you do a great job at what you do, you will make great tips. If you don't, if you have a negative attitude, then your returns will be a reflection of the attitude that you bring to the job. I think we all can agree at least on that point. Point number two. My point number one, I have a lot of material. Number two, if you can make money off of tips, or if you want to make money off of tips, excuse me, work in a job in which you can differentiate yourself. You can't differentiate yourself delivering pizzas. You can differentiate yourself being a massage therapist. You can differentiate yourself being a valet driver or a chauffeur just by your energy and the way that you show up. Those are the kind of places you want to position yourself to where you can best win. Number three, speaking of such, position yourself to where getting what you want is the standard and the baseline rather than a hoped for or expected handout. General rule: if you're a service-based worker, do your service in places where people have and spend a lot of money. Go work at a high-end hotel. You can work any part of it. You could be part of the maintenance staff. You could be the concierge. You can be a valet. You can be what's another thing you could be at a place like that? You can be a bellman. You can be anything else you could do. Be a chauffeur. Work at the restaurant there. Work at the bar there. Go somewhere where a lot of money is normally spent, and that's the place where you're positioning yourself to make more money. All right, don't be out there doing social work with broke people who are on government assistance, then wonder why you're not making more money. And again, I'm using that I'm being kind of facetious there, using it as a metaphor to help you all understand. Because people who do social work, shout out to them. If that's the career that you choose, they're not getting in it for the money. All right, so I understand that. When I'm saying if you're in it for the money, go to where the money's at. Okay, stay close to the money. All that said, folks, workonyourgameuniversity.com. You're serious about taking your game to the next level and you want to get close to the money, maybe even get to the point where you are the money, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all